Hello, my name is Bronwyn. This is my YouTube channel where I draw a lot. That's what I do here, I just draw here. This video is a tutorial on how I draw hair. Here are some examples of hair that I've drawn if you wanted my credentials. For the intro, I just wanted to give some basic information, some background information. I'm using a super old graphics tablet plugged into my laptop, and the program I'm using is called Critter. It's really cool. I like it a lot. It's basically an open source version of Photoshop. For most of the YouTube shorts on my channel, I've used the Infinite Painter app on a Samsung tablet. On that note, this is a sketching and a drawing style. Painting hair would be a different tutorial because there would be different steps. Just a bit of a disclaimer, this is how I sketch and draw hair, but that doesn't mean you have to do it this way. One person on TikTok asked me to make a hair tutorial, and I thought that sounds like a fun idea. So I ran with it, and here we are. I will have a summary slide after the tutorial section, just because I can. I just like the idea of a little summary slide wrapping up the points of the video. So there you go, that's free. You can keep that. Okay, now let's get into the actual tutorial portion of the video. So as I stated before, this video is focusing on a sketching approach. I tend to start off with a bigger brush size that I'll maybe lower the opacity so it's not 100% opacity. You can obviously use whatever brush you want. The brush that I'm using for the most part in this video is called the Chalk Details brush in Critter, and you can find it under the sketching category. So for me, I like to start from the top of the head, and the first thing I usually do is pick what parting I'm doing on the hair. So you could do a middle part where you can see there's a line down the middle and the hair is flowing out of that line. At the top of the head, obviously the head is round, so the hair first has to fall over the round shape of the head. You know, you could picture a circle here in the middle. So you could do a middle part, you could do a side part. Again, we place our line there and then the hair comes out of the side. You could also do bangs or fringe, but you're still gonna have a parting somewhere. Unless you have the hair going like straight back behind the bangs. Like let's say it's tied up into a ponytail, then it doesn't need to have the part in the middle, then it can just flow in that direction. So yeah, it's generally good to pick what parting you want to do. I think today we'll do a middle part. So like I said, I tend to start at the top of the head. So there I've got my little middle part, and I tend to draw the pieces in the front of the face, the pieces of hair that's going to fall over the face and frame the face, just because that's the first thing I picture in my mind. So here, for example, this piece of hair is going over the front of her face, kind of around the eyes, covering the temples of the head. And because I'm drawing wavy hair, I'm using an S shape. I'm not using just a line, a curved line shape like I would for straight hair. And curly hair is also its own thing entirely. So I'm using an S shape, and I enjoy sort of flicking out that S shape away from the face. So yeah, if I can draw like a little arrow in there, the flick is going away from the face. And then I'm at the top of the head now, and like I said, the hair is first gonna fall over the head. Yeah. And here I'm quite happy to erase and adjust. Obviously, if I don't like something, if I'm like, oh, I want the hair to come out a bit more this side. Okay, now I tend to think of the hair as being made up of multiple big pieces stuck together. So I would split it into the front, the top of the head, the sides, and the back, like behind the neck. This is going to make it easier if you want to go more into shading and to coloring as well. So this would be, for example, a side piece. So let's say I want this piece to come out here, and I want another side piece on this side. I tend to make these pieces end in like this taper so they get smaller, and I kind of think of them as leaf shapes. So there's a little leaf in nature, but then if you shade the leaf like this, then it becomes hair, right? So these are the side pieces that are tapering, and then I've got another piece on the side, let's say, that tapers this way. It kind of like looks like leaves stacked on top of each other. And then over here around the neck, I would fold that in, and I would be like, okay, that part of the hair is going to be in the shadow because it's behind the neck. So I've got my front pieces, I've got my top pieces of the hair, and then I've got my side pieces and the pieces right at the back. So now I've got my brush, I've made it a little bit smaller, and I've made the opacity 100%. So here I'm gonna go in and refine the shapes of those sections. So this is the top piece. Outline it, make it a bit darker, make sure that that tapering at the end is clear. So making sure that the shape is clear. Doing the same at the bottom. Now that we've got the sketch defined to a point where I'm like, okay, I like this, I can work with this, it's clear. Now I'm gonna go in and use parallel lines. So I'm gonna go in and use lines that follow the same curves of the lines I've already drawn to fill in the detail. So I'm starting from the root and then doing these kind of brush strokes. Maybe I should zoom in. You can make your brush even smaller here. Starting from the root, and I'm not going all the way, I'm not filling in the whole shape, I'm not coloring in the whole shape. And then I'll go to the end, do the same thing. Same thing on this side. Okay, this can actually come down a bit further. And then I'll leave a gap here in the middle of the shape because I want to leave a space for the highlight. Then again, I'm starting from the roots and I'm following the curve of the shape that's already there and making these parallel lines. So parallel meaning if I have a line like this, the second line is parallel to it. If I have a line like this, the second line is parallel to it. And then the S shape, that would be a parallel line. Okay, now here, I tend to draw from the ear when I'm doing the side parts. So like I was drawing from the parting before and I was drawing from the end before, now I'm kind of drawing away from the ear. And then again from the ends, just following this leaf shape that I have in the corner. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now here, this section falls under this section. So I'm going to bring the shadows from this line. So this is the bottom part. This is the bottom line of the two side pieces, and now for these bottom pieces I'm taking the shadow as if they're coming out of that line, and then as if the shadows are coming out of the ends of the hair. Okay, so when I'm sketching, this is basically the style I like to use. At this point, you could put a layer under your sketch if you want to add some color to the hair. I'm just going to add some gray. I'm mostly adding color because it will help the highlights stand out more. Now what you can do is take this lighter color and then use that to add highlights. So you can make the brush smaller, keep the opacity pretty high, and then go in. Again, you're doing parallel lines, but this time, instead of filling it in from the roots, you're going to where you left those open spaces and starting in the middle of that open space and then drawing away as if there's a line in the middle of that open space, right? So if this is the lighter part of the hair where the shadows haven't reached, I'm imagining that there's a line right through the middle of it, and I'm flicking my highlight away from that line, right? So I'll draw the line in just for the sake of clarity, but usually I wouldn't draw in the line. So there's the line, and there I'm making these flicks again parallel with all of the other lines that I've drawn. So they're all going in the same direction. The hair is all following the same direction of that big shape. Then I go in with my eraser, cut back the highlight a bit just to give it a nice shape. Okay, now I'm doing the same thing here, doing the same thing in this part. I'll have the highlight here, and then I'll have these longer lines outside of it. Almost looks like an H shape. I do tend to do that as well. Highlight on the side pieces. There you can see I've got like 2 H shapes. Highlight on the side pieces here. And highlight on these bottom pieces. And I'm not going to add highlights to the hair pieces that are behind the neck. There I'm going to go in with more shadow again actually. Okay, so with the highlights you can make those H shapes, which maybe I should put it over here as well, just so it's visible. So what you can also do is make your brush even thinner and then put long strands in. Again, following the direction of the hair. You can do that with your highlights. That adds a bit of interest, adds a bit of texture, and it's just fun. It just looks nice and it's fun. I'm gonna go in with a darker color right here in the hair sections that are behind the neck, just because they currently look lighter than the rest of the hair, but they should be darker because they're in the shadow. One thing you can do if you feel like there's not enough shadow, if you feel like your shadows aren't dark enough, you can go in with an airbrush, like a big airbrush that you've set the opacity lower, and you can just go in and darken up like the roots, wherever there's shadows. I don't think it's really necessary for this drawing, but you could do that. Final details. For the final details, I'm going back to my chalk brush and I'm adding some flyaway strands, so just strands of hair that are on their own, that are not part of those big shapes that we made, especially around the face. These are nice, just adds a bit of interest. It just looks good. It looks like a good time. And you can make your brush smaller and smaller for this. You can make this quite thin. These lines can be quite thin. And you can also take your highlight color and make these strands. I know we mentioned putting strands of the highlight color in the body of the hair, but they can come out of the main sections of hair as well. Okay, so that is basically it. This is how I draw wavy hair. Obviously there's variation. I'll draw things slightly differently every time, but this is a little overview and a guide, and hopefully the steps were clear enough that you could also use them. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the tutorial helpful and I hope you found it interesting. Just a couple of points before I go. I am considering doing a curly hair tutorial next. I think that would be fun. I'm also thinking of making a sketchbook tour video, but I don't know because it would take quite long to film all of that. But if you think I should make those videos, then comment, because otherwise I won't know what you think unless you say. Also, I have a lot of YouTube shorts on this channel that are basically just time lapses of me drawing. So if you enjoy that, please go and check those out. I do have 2 longer YouTube videos. One is of a sunset drawing process. I think that came out quite nice. And then the other one is a draw with me, where I just do traditional pencil sketches in my sketchbook. That's more relaxed. It's got music in the background. It's just, you can put that on while you're working, while you're drawing, whatever. For those who don't want to watch YouTube shorts, I do have a TikTok. I don't know, if you're watching a YouTube video, then I think you're on YouTube, right? But maybe you just prefer TikTok overall, and that's, you allowed to have that opinion. That's your life. But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful. I'll see you when I see you. Hopefully when I make the next video. Hopefully I don't take too long to make it. So yeah, bye.